Good afternoon, LEC community. Welcome to this week's Ask an Educator. My name is Susana Elisa Raraz, and I am the Deputy Director of the Latinx Education Collaborative. We are working to increase Latinx representation in K through 12 classrooms. And of course, one thing that matters so much within that work is retaining the Latino educators and teachers that we already have in our landscape. One way that we do that or hope to do that is by showing love and recognition to those educators doing the tough work of teaching every single day. And I have the pleasure of today being with someone who's been close to organization for a little while. We've known each other for a little while, and so I'm really excited to have Salvador with us today. Hi, Salvador. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. We were just saying how it's kind of been a little while. What have you been up to?
Well, I was teaching summer school 2 weeks ago, but then I'm done with it. So I've been just enjoying my time off.
Nice. I know a lot of teachers get second jobs and everything in the summer. Luckily, you now have these 4 weeks to kind of just relax, right?
Yes. Well, I am working. I work at a restaurant weekends, especially on summer. So I'm not doing anything during the week. So I might as well do something on the weekends, and I can have some extra money. That way, I can go out and I have to stop myself from cooking at home.
Love it. Love it. Well, hopefully you get lots of relaxing time anyway. To get us started, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, who you are, and where you're from.
Well, my name is Salvador Montanez Espinoza. I was born and raised in Mexico, in Michoacan. And then I moved here when I was 15 in 2011. So I've been here in Kansas for a little bit. Um, I'm a first grade teacher. I've been teaching for 3 years, going into my fourth one in August.
Nice, nice. I love what grade did you say again?
First,
First grade.
so the
Um,
little, uh-huh.
yeah, the little ones. I love how all of us, like teachers, have our kind of preference of age. How's first grade for you? Like, do you love it or do you hope to make a shift at some point?
I love it. I've been teaching in it for 3 years now, and I feel like it's my grade. I would say I was doing kindergarten and summer school,
Mhm.
and that was a little rough at the beginning because
Yeah.
my mindset was already like, oh, my kids are going to second grade, so they know how to read, they know how to do this, they know all these things. So I got the kindergartners going into first grade, and it was just a big difference that I wasn't I forgot about it from the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for you to prepare for the August, right? Or for the fall,
Yeah.
because now you have a good picture of where they are right now. Yeah.
And I will actually get to keep some of those little ones in my
Oh,
classroom. So I was like,
oh,
at the end of this of summer school, I was like, don't be sad. I would see some of you in like 6 weeks. So
oh,
so I'm excited
awesome.
for that.
Well, that's what I mean too by like we all have our grade preferences because I was a sixth grade teacher and I loved it. And I just really love that age and that middle school age. But I know people who prefer kind of like the little kiddos would be like, absolutely not.
So I don't know how I will feel about fifth or sixth grade.
Yeah.
So I would say I like first and second the
Yeah.
most.
It's a whole nother world. Like in a school, they exist right down the hall from each other, but it's like a whole nother world.
No, it's so different from each other.
Yeah. Well, Salvador, I know a little bit about you. You just reminded me that we first met when I was still teaching and you were doing still some of your internships and shadowing at my school that I was teaching at. I totally forgot about that. But so I know a little bit about you, but I'd love to hear like your leadership story. So I'd love to hear kind of about your upbringing, your journey as a student or as a professional, kind of what has led you to where you are now.
I feel like it's a long story. Like I was telling you, I was born and raised in Mexico, and then I moved here when I was 15. And growing up, I always wanted to be an architect. And even when I was here in high school, because I grew here when I was a sophomore, and I was like, I'm gonna be an architect, and I'm gonna go to school, and I will be designing houses, and I will be doing this and doing that. But then when I was in high school, I mean, I came here and I was 15, and I didn't know the language, so it was a very hard. And I had a few teachers. One of them is like very close to the community. You probably know her, Jackie Madrigal.
Yeah. Shout out to Miss Madrigal.
Oh yeah, no, she was my teacher in high school. She was my ELL teacher, and she was just like a big support for me and my sister, and it was just amazing to see like how she went for the extra mile to help all the kids in her classroom, because like most of the kids in the classroom didn't speak the language, and I really liked that, and I was like, well, maybe one day I will get to do something like that. But I couldn't teach high school, so I was like, maybe I was like, well, I want to help the little ones that like will be on the same place that I am with like the language and coming back from a different country and all these things. So I decided to become a teacher, and it was when I decided to become a teacher, it was kind of hard because I'm a first generation student. So it was very hard because I was like, well, what's next after high school? I was like, how do I sign up for college? Where do I go? Do I need to pay all of it? Do I need to find where do I start? So she and another teacher that sadly I haven't heard about in a long time. They both were very helpful, and like I remember we did like field trips to school. We went to JCCC, and then I got to meet someone that is also very involved in the community, Melissa Jimenez,
Yeah, Dr. Jimenez recently. Yes.
and she was also just a big support in like helping me and like telling me what the next step was. Because otherwise, I feel like I will be lost. Because I was like, I don't know anything about the FAFSA. Like, where do I start? So I guess it's like having different people like telling me where to go and what to do really helped me to like get where I am right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I hear a trend in that little part of your story of like there being kind of Latinos who kind of stepped up and really supported you. Of course, we as an organization believe that Latino representation matters, and this is kind of why, but and you don't have to believe so either, but like what kind of like impact did that make that these were both Latinas who were supporting you through this? Was there some kind of significant impact there?
Oh yeah, yes. Because it's like meeting them, I was like, oh, you speak my language. Okay. So it's gonna be way easier to like explain this to my mom. I was like, I don't have to translate anything with my broken English back then. I was like, I don't have to like translate everything to my mom, especially like all these documents that have like huge words in it that I don't even know how to translate in Spanish. So I was like, they will be doing the talking with my parents. That way they can understand everything better.
That's awesome.
Just having that connection. And like some of them are like very simple. I remember Miss Madrigal, um, through like having conversations and all these things. We found out that we were both from the same town, so we were like, oh, so like that, just like those little connections like made us closer,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt more, I would say, like comfortable going
Mm-hmm.
with them when I needed help.
Yeah. There's like, I think there's layers to identity where the language component is so big, right? So connecting some with someone who knows the same language as you is so big. But like the deeper you go is like, we were just talking about this today. Some people on my team and I about like when you find out someone's from your pueblo, you find out someone's from even the Estado de Mexico, right? You're like, oh, like there's some kind of connection. And especially for it to be an educator, right? Or like someone who's a professional, someone who can support you in your next steps of life. That's super cool.
Yes, I agree. Just like knowing that you can relate to them somehow, I feel like
Hmm.
that opens like a different door
Hmm.
of
You
connection.
you also work at a school that is predominantly Latino, right?
Yes, it's like probably like 98% Latino, if you're not even a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things I like because like I like being in the classroom. I like making all these little connections with my kids. I was telling Ivan a while ago. Sometimes I go into the classroom and some of my kids are like singing to Carol G or
Yeah.
something that is really popular right now is Peso Pluma.
Hmm.
So I remember it was me and like two different teachers in the classroom, and they started to sing in this song, and they were like, "What are they singing?" And I was like, "Ah, I know what they're singing." So just like those little things, and I'm like, "Oh, do you like that singer? Do you know this? Do you know that?" Like TV shows and all these things. I have kids come in, and they were like, "Has mirado el Chavo del Ocho?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "You kidding?" Yes, I have. And like just making all these little connections that like I can talk to them. I'm like, yes,
Hmm.
I feel like it brings us together in a way.
Yeah, I think it just makes, especially when you're talking about youth and kids, it makes such a difference that they're able to connect with people on a different level like that. I had the same experience, right, where my kiddos would ask me the same similar questions, and it seems like random. It seems like it's not important, but to kiddos who are kind of trying to find their identity and like understand the difference between home and the community and school and like how do I mesh all these things together. I think for me it would have been very affirming to know like, oh, your mom speaks Spanish too, mine too, when I was little, because I think when I was little I was trying to change. I was like, oh, my family is one thing and then school is another thing, so I have to change myself to be more like school, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I think it's so impactful.
And even though I mean I'm teaching first grade, so even though they're like 6, 7, or some of them are 8, they already think about those things. Because whenever I like pass out some papers and I have to be like, okay, give this to your mom, make sure they sign it. The first thing they ask is, ¿está en español? Porque si no, no le va a entender. And I have to be like, yes, también está en español, so they can sign it. So like, I feel like they know that if it's just in English, they will like miss something, or like, or even like some of the papers are really just in English because like I don't know, something happened quickly or like whatever. So I have to be like, don't worry, it's okay. I will also send a message through the app. If they have any questions, they can let me know. I speak Spanish. They can call me on the phone and like all these things. So I feel like even though they're like at a young age, they know what they need. So they're like, is it in my language? Otherwise, they won't understand. When we went to the field trip, they were like, mi mamá va a saber de qué es. I don't want her to get confused on like all these things. So like all these little things that we do to like help the families, I feel like are just and I keep telling my parents, I was like, didn't I mean like growing up, I went to school in Mexico, so like I didn't have to think about these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, these kids know what they need. They're like, it's in my language. Will they understand? I don't want them to be confused. So I think it's awesome the way they think about it.
Sorry, I'm plugging in my laptop. You
Oh no,
know,
you're
I love that, and the fact that honestly, I don't think enough. I mean, I think it's a struggle across the landscape of like language access is a little bit of a struggle, not just in education, just across the board.
yeah.
Um, and so to be a part of an environment, I know that Guadalupe Centers really emphasizes language access just because it is predominantly Latino, right? Now, another thing that kind of came to mind for me is the kiddos, as they get older, students, they start feeling that responsibility of translating for their families. And I know I had that responsibility. I'm not sure if that's something that you experienced.
I did because I do have two siblings that are way younger than me. Right now, I have one that is 7 and one that is 18. So like to this day, I still have to like call the doctor and like do these things.
Yeah. So like to almost, alleviate the kiddos of that responsibility is really nice too. Like, I mean, I got a lot of strengths and a lot of skill from needing to translate for my family, but especially as they're little, having them just experience school as a student first versus like having
Mhm.
that pressure of I don't know how to translate this. I remember feeling that way, at parent teacher conferences being 6, 7 years old and like I don't really know how to say, academic achievement in Spanish.
Exactly. You're like, well, how do I describe it? What do I say now?
I think that made me really skillful. I think our kids become really skillful because they're needing to critically think about like I have to describe it instead of translating it. You know what I mean? So
Uh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about what are some hurdles that you've had in your career that kind of made your dream of teaching a little bit more difficult.
I would say, just like I mentioned a few minutes ago, just getting to like on a start point, to like where do I start with? Just like applying to like different schools and knowing what's next. What do I do? And then something that I always tell people, when so I don't have any teachers in my family, so I I'm the first one,
Wow.
no uncles or anything. So when I used to tell people in my family, "Oh, I will be a teacher," they were like, "Oh, but what about the pay? Sabes que no te deja dinero, ¿verdad?" Or
Mhm.
things like that. Or they were like, "Oh, are you gonna be a PE teacher?" Like, no, I will be doing elementary.
Yeah.
I guess just I don't know if it's like just like a Hispanic thing. We have like all these misconception about the profession.
Yeah, like stereotypes and bias about
Yes, they were
yeah.
like, oh, but that's most es más para las mujeres or something like that. So I was like, well, and it did make me think at the beginning. I was like, do I really want to be a teacher? But then I was like, oh, yes, I do want to be a teacher because, like, looking back, I remember I had two male teachers in elementary school in la primaria, and I still remember them to this day because I was like, they were they were very fun and they were very good at the other job. So I was like, I want to be doing something like that with
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what, Salvador, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot when we are, working with people who want to become teachers, sometimes we have to meet with their families. The folks will ask us to meet with their families to kind of clear up some of those misconceptions and to almost convince, mom and dad that this is a solid profession and it's a fulfilling one. And there are a lot of financial options and benefits and
Yes.
pensions and things. You know what I mean? And so, yes, I think the value, the value that we have toward education and toward teachers in our society isn't high enough. And so I almost like se entiende, right? Like I understand why parents would
Mhm.
be like, no, maybe you should be
Yeah,
something.
are you sure? Yeah,
Yeah.
because remember um when I went to school and when I had to like make some payments and all these things, I was like, well, it is a little bit high. And I remember I was like, well, will it like give me the money back? Will I be okay financially when I'm working and like all these things? But so it takes a while to like realize that it does. And then I think, and how I used to tell people, I will always say it leaves like a bigger reward because you're helping the little ones,
Mhm.
especially at a young age. It's I feel like es una recompensa, just like very bien grande.
Sí, sí.
Like seeing them, I like when I'm in the classroom and one of them is struggling to like read some words, and then they read them. I'm like, yes, like I feel something inside of me that I'm like, we are doing it, but on the outside, I'm like, see, you did it. Now we're gonna read all this life. I'm like, we're getting there.
I love that.
It's just if it's good, it's something that like gives you a reward,
Mhm.
especially if you know you're doing a good job. I'm like, well, we are learning our numbers and we're doing this and we're doing that. So it's just a very big reward.
It's very fulfilling, on a day to day basis, and it is difficult to like kind of swim through all the negativity,
Yeah.
not you maybe our families maybe don't do it on purpose, but like it does kind of start to like make you think like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't do this, you know?
Yeah.
But then you're in it and you're like, okay, no, like in this classroom, the amount of impact that's being made and kiddos who are like learning and, you know, there will be kids who maybe remember you like you remember some of your teachers from primaria, right? So
Yes.
the impact is there. You know what I mean?
Yes. Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
then something that I think also was a little bit hard is on my first year, it was 2020, so it was like during COVID and like all these things. So it wasn't very easy. And I remember talking to like other teachers from UMKC from my school, and we were like, "How's everything going? It's so hard to me. I have to be on the screen and be like, hey, señora, ¿le puede prender el micrófono, por favor?" Or use things like that. I was like, it's very hard just working with it. And then on my second year, well, my first year, but like the second half, so the second semester, we
Mhm.
did it in person.
Mhm.
It was just very hard to like manage things. And I remember I used to think, is it really what I want right now? Is it
Mhm.
it's too much work and I'm doing all these things? And I used to work outside of school a lot. But if anyone is listening right now, it gets better. Like right
Mhm.
now, I have so much free time, and I feel like just getting used to it. And my grandma, she used to work at a school, and she was like, ay, mijo, yo siempre miro los maestros nuevos, se quedan bien tarde, and I feel bad for you, and this, and I was like, but it's fine. Like, I won't be new for forever. Like, it might be 1 or 2 years, and then it gets so much better because you
Mhm.
have like all these things that you have learned. So I think, and I feel like that would be with like any other job. Like at the beginning, it will be hard once
Mhm.
you get used to it, and like where do you get the things from? But once you like have that experience, you're like, oh, we're teaching nouns. Oh, I can use this worksheet that I created last year, or I
Yeah.
can do these things. Or I remember what we used to do. I remember what worked for the kids and what didn't work. So like, let's try something new.
Yeah.
So it definitely got better.
Yeah. Well, you know what? My next question was going to be what advice do you have for Latinx teachers who are struggling? But let's pause there for a second. You know, that most teachers leave the classroom after 5 years of teaching. And so that those first almost 3 years, I feel like, if we can get over that hump, you know, then we're kind of like starting to get our momentum. But you know, it's so unfortunate that teachers leave the profession. Like I feel like 5 years is kind of early in the profession, right? And so you wonder kind of what more magic could be done after 5 years. When unfortunately that's when the average teacher leaves, right? But so what advice do you have for Latinx teachers who may be struggling right now?
I would say just, I mean, it's gonna sound cheesy, but I would say like just keep trying. Like it gets better with time, because I know it might be like it might feel like a big load at the beginning, but then it just like evens out and evens way better. And I would say don't be afraid to like reach out to other people. Thankfully, I have amazing people at my school that if I need something, I know I can go to them and I can be like, hey, I'm struggling to like do this. Can I get some help? And then you never know. Some people might be having the same struggle. So just like making connections,
Mhm.
especially in your school, talking to other teachers. Just like don't feel alone. Because I think I remember during my COVID years, I was just here at home, so I would like teach through Zoom and like all these things. So I didn't really get to like fully meet my team, and it was just very hard because I didn't feel confident enough in being like, hey, can I get some help?
Yeah.
And once you do it once, you're like, okay, so like I'm not alone. So just realize that you're not alone and you can get help from the school. You can get help from you guys. I know you
Yeah.
guys have amazing resources.
Thank you.
So I
Yeah.
would say just don't like realize that you're not alone and don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah. That Salvador, that's actually been a theme with a lot of our interviews. Actually, most of our interviews, the educators answer, find your resources, find your people, find your community, find a network of people who can support you, because
Yes.
we're only one person, and you're teaching 20, 25, 30 kiddos every year. And so they need lots of different things, and so the more ideas and the more support and the more imagination, right, that other people have can be really, really supportive. Speaking of resources, I haven't mentioned this yet. Salvador was actually our Teacher Appreciation Week grand prize winner. We had lots of kind of small winners that we sprinkled in, but Salvador was our grand prize winner of $1,000. Nonprofit accounting is kind of tricky, so it took us a little bit to get access to it. But you won the grand prize. Congratulations on
I
that.
did.
How
Thank
did
you.
that feel?
I mean, I remember it was on a Friday and I was actually teaching, so I didn't have the time to like go live and like check it out, because I remember that we were having science at the end of the day. And then on my way home, I remember Ivan sent me a message and he was like, "Did you see the raffle?" And I was like, "No." So I was like, "Let me check it out right now." So I remember I was in a parking lot and I checked and I was like, "What?" I was like, "I never win anything." I was like, "Is this for real?" But then it happened. So I was like, "Oh my goodness." So thank you guys. That's
Of course.
definitely that's I mean that's huge. So that's definitely gonna help me with like some things going into the next school year.
Good. Good. Please use it for whatever you'd like, taking care of yourself, going on a trip, whatever you need. I wish that one of the things, obviously, about teaching, as we've mentioned, is that we don't get paid enough, and you all don't get paid enough for the work that you do. And so it's just a small way for us to be able to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And I wish we could do it for everyone. I wish we could do it so much more often. But because we know a lot of teachers come out of pocket for a lot of their supplies, we know a lot of teachers don't spend a lot of money and time on themselves. We were like, let's make this happen. So congratulations again, and hopefully we can make it happen more often for more teachers.
Yes, no, I feel
Yeah,
like everyone appreciates all of that. Remember, it was a whole week, and even if it's $25 or a gift to Tropicana or I mean Palacana, like now, or like all these
yeah,
things, it makes a difference.
yeah.
Yes, you want.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I'm sure every teacher wants to go have a paleta break every now and then.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Spend time with family, or reward a kiddo, or whatever you want to use it for.
So
uh,
whatever the amount is, I know everyone will be
Thank you.
appreciative.
Thank you, Salvador. Thank you for saying that. Well, to kind of wrap up our convo, I know we didn't have a lot of time today, but I want to know what keeps you going.
What keeps me going? I would say my kids in the classroom, like I mentioned before, when I see the little brain sparkle, like yes, because I remember I have like different experiences and like different things I can point out, but just like the way their like eyes sparkle when they're able to do something that they were not able to do before. When I we meet with kids and we go over the alphabet very often, and I tell them, I give them feedback. I would say, okay, you're getting 18 letters, you need six more, you need seven more, you can do it next time. We want to do it in 2 weeks, so keep practicing. And then once I tell them, oh, you got 100%, they're like, did I? I'm like,
Oh,
yes, you did. So like all those little things make me like go forward. And then when kids in first grade, they're lovely. When I went to the class,
they
they're like,
are.
"You're the best teacher ever," and we're gonna miss you, and all these things. I was telling one of my coworkers because I was doing kindergarten and summer school, so I still used to see my kids from first grade. Whenever I see them walking around on the cafeteria and all these things, they would run up to me, they would give me a hug, and they were like, "We love you so much, and we miss you," and like all these things. So that makes me feel so good because I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm having an impact on these kids right now because they're
Yeah.
doing all these things, and I feel like they they know they're doing better and they're learning. And because how we say it en español, los niños son como una esponja, so
Sí.
they're like getting everything in, and it's just amazing to like see. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know that little face when they like put something in practice that they just learn. It's it makes me feel good. And I think that's my why, just like helping everyone and just like helping families to like I said before, a lot of my families speak Spanish, and it's just se siente muy bien just being like I can help you and like getting all that help and getting out there. I think that will be my why.
I love that. You're definitely making an impact, and we thank you so much for the work that you do. My final question, I know you kind of answered it a little bit, but if there's one thing that you would like every student to know when they leave your classroom, what do you want them to know?
I would like them to know that they can do whatever they can and they can learn. I don't want to like sound so like generic, but I want them to know that they can do anything. They can be whatever they want. They can learn whatever they desire. Because I would say I have kids that are like, oh, but like I don't want to learn about that because that's more for like girls, boys, and like all these things. I don't need this. Or and then that is one thing that I ask them. We have morning meeting every morning, and I would say, what is something that you would like to learn more about? And if someone says how ice cream is made, next morning meeting, I would find something about how ice cream is made, and they're like, "That's cool." So like, just kids, you know how kids are. I know you have a kid also. Like, they have so many questions about everything. So I'm like, everything has an answer. Just they can learn it. They're able to like know everything.
I love that. Salvador, I really appreciate the attitude you bring to this work, the love and the care you bring to this work. Thank you so, so much for the work that you do. Congratulations again. Any final thoughts before we head off?
Just if there is anyone, any future teachers in here listening, just make sure you find your people. I mean, if you're ever comfortable, they can reach out to me, and or they can reach to you guys, reach out to your community, and it gets better. It can only get better.
I love that. Thank you, Salvador. Salvador, we'll talk very, very soon. I'll follow up with an email to see how things are going.
Awesome.
LEC community, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We'll see everyone soon.
See ya. Thank
Bye,
you.
Salvador.
Bye.